Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here.
And today I want to do a video talking about reframing. And so what reframing is basically taking something, and you can imagine a frame, right? A way of looking at something and taking it and putting it in a different frame. So if you think about a picture, right? You can have a really shitty picture, but if you frame it right and you have an elegant frame on it, it can look fantastic, right? It's a matter of reframing. It can change the whole perspective of the thing that you're looking at. And so we can do the same thing in our lives, right? We do not perceive reality 100% as it is. We all have filters. We all have a worldview which we perceive reality through, and we can actually influence that, and we can influence the worldview and filters of others. But more importantly, in our daily lives, is our ability to reframe our own reality for ourselves. So what do I mean by this? Basically, the best way to do this, or the most effective way to use this, is when you have something that you normally would see as a downside or bad. Let's say that you get in a car crash, okay? That objectively is just something that happened. The facts are that you got in a car crash. Now, we apply to that meaning. We add meaning to it. And when we add meaning to it, we give an interpretation, and that determines whether it's good or bad in our mind and what is the value of it, okay? And so in many cases, most people would say getting into a car crash is a bad thing. Not always the case, right? That's the default frame that most people are going to have. But what you can do in that situation is you could reframe that, and you could say, hey, you know what? It's a good thing I got into this crash now, because this car was getting pretty old and I could have gotten into a much more dangerous crash later, and I survived and everything is great. And so now I'm going to get some insurance money from this car, and I'm going to get a new, safer car, and I'll avoid a bigger crash where I could die, right? That's one way of reframing it. Another way of reframing it would be to say,
wow, that was a really crazy experience. I appreciate my life a lot more, and I'm glad that I went through that, because now I just have a new zest for life. I realized that I was taking a lot of things in my life for granted. I wasn't telling people that I loved them. I wasn't taking care of myself, but now that I've gotten this new lease on life, I'm so grateful that this happened. Otherwise, maybe I would have not had experienced this trauma, but maybe I would have gone down my path in life not knowing, not being awoke, right? Not waking up.
So there's a lot of ways, right, to frame things, and it's what the media might call spinning, but you do it for yourself, and you do it in order to create a story that's going to benefit you. It's better to have beliefs that aren't necessarily true. Having true beliefs is not necessarily true, but empowering beliefs, or beliefs that are useful to you, right? If you have a belief that is true, but it doesn't serve you, it doesn't help you in any way, the truth of it doesn't really matter, okay? But if you have a belief that's false, but you believe it, and like Dumble's feather, it makes you fly, then you know what? Whether it's false or you don't really understand the reason why such a thing is true, it doesn't matter, because it's good, because it empowers you, because it helps you in your life, right? It's okay to not know the true reality of everything. Sometimes it's okay to have what might be considered false beliefs, or quote hokey beliefs, if they actually are beneficial to you. When you're reframing something, you're not telling a lie. You're not purposely making up a lie and blowing smoke up your ass. That's not the idea. It's like, you don't want to blow smoke up your ass. You want to see reality clearly. I've got a video on that where I talk about looking in the mirror, and I talk about objectively looking in the mirror and seeing both physically and emotionally, spiritually, mentally, what exists, okay? Taking a true assessment of yourself. That's really important, to be objective in that way. When you're reframing things, what you're doing is you're just choosing the way to see the reality. You're still looking at the same reality. I'm not saying about the car crash that it didn't happen. I'm not saying I'm not making up facts that don't exist. I'm acknowledging it. I'm acknowledging what happened. I'm acknowledging the tragedy of it and the things that happened, but I'm choosing to look at it from a frame that's positive, right? And this is something that you can do all the time. You can do this with everything. Even just now, this morning I was on the Entre Programmers podcast, and I was talking about how I was going through a bout of depression. And I was thinking about, how I can reframe that, and I can really think of it as a positive thing, as now that I'm going through this, I'm able to experience this, and so I'm able to share this with other people, help them, having gone through it, be able to relate better and be able to teach better, and it'll help me, it'll increase my depth as a human being. You got to realize that there is no such thing as loss, right? At least the way that if you frame things, if you can reframe things, you can take every loss and you can turn it into a gain, and then you just have gains in life, right? Now, this is really hard to do in some cases. There are things that you're going to encounter in life that are going to be hard. They're going to be devastating. They're going to want to create within you a state of suffering, but you have to choose instead to reframe, to try to see the positive, to paint it in a realistic light where they're all, because there's always some good. There's always something that you can make of it. Because if you can't do that in life, then you're going to be subject to the circumstances around you. If you have this ability to reframe things, there's nothing that can harm you, because whatever comes in, you have that filter. You are, before it comes into you, you're deciding how to interpret, how to process that. It's just a signal. It's just light entering the eyes. It's just vibrations entering the ears, right? It's just a signal, and you're deciding what you're going to make of that signal. And how you decide what you make of that signal will determine how your life is, right? The people who live happy lives, the people who are in positive moods, the people who experience the most joy out of life are the people who can take whatever the signal is coming in and they can make it something positive, because they're self-contained, they're self-controlled, they're self-sufficient. They are able to buffer themselves from the outside world and all the chance and chaos and randomness and craziness that goes on there. That's how you become optimistic. That's how you become a positive person, and it's going to benefit you a lot more in life. And the reason why we do this is, again, not to blow smoke up our ass. It's because this is a better way to live. It's because we'll get better results. When you believe positively, when you see the world as helping you, when you see events that are happening in the world not as bad things, not as horrible things, but as things that are designed to push you on your path to enlightenment, to development, to wherever you're going, then you're going to be more encouraged, you're going to be more motivated, you're going to be more driven, and you're going to be more successful. All right, that's all I have for you today. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button, click the bell so you don't miss any videos. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.